Hello. Good day, Ella. Good to see you.
You too, Neuros. How are you?
Well, as you can see, in solitary confinement for the last uh, week or so, by surviving thanks to the support of my dear friends and family and your kind self.
Hmm.
Um, we talked about when we were doing a last video cast from near the Sydney Harbour Bridge that nothing lasts forever. You never know what's going to happen in life.
Yeah.
Um, what does last forever is your legacy as to when you had the chance, did you do any good? And um, when we were shooting our first video cast, we never thought that the next episode will be I'll be in solitary confinement
No.
and we'll be out there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's been a bit of a traumatizing experience, but I believe that um, I believe in the Australian justice system, and I believe in my legal team, and I believe that justice will prevail, and hopefully this opportunity to change in this already confinement won't last forever either, and hopefully to be out soon and doing this video cast and working on a media project for Love and Freedom project,
Yeah.
continuing working on that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So tell me, how do you feel meeting me when you met me and um, when I shared all my experiences with you
Hmm.
and now where I am? What is your perspective? How do you feel like about this whole system?
Yeah. Um, well, I mean, I do think I'm really lucky to have met you when I did, obviously, while you were still free. Um, I wouldn't say my perspective has changed, rather it's deepened because I've begun to understand what it's like from your side. You know, obviously I'm not you, I haven't had the experiences that you have had. Um, and it's it's refreshing to hear a different perspective, one that I've never heard before. Um, and something that's genuine as well. You know, it's not like I'm just reading a news article. You know, you're a real person and you have these real experiences and feelings, and getting to know that and getting to understand that has really made me think um, a lot more about Australia and how our government has been dealing with all these various issues pertaining to human rights.
Absolutely, and I must say that um, when I met you, like during our work and knowing as a friend, like I just believe you got this spark in you, which is very deep in wanting to make a change, wanting to learn, wanting to understand as to what is happening in our country,
Hmm.
and having that very moral compass of what is right and what is wrong. And like with all due respect, people your age usually at that young age, even myself, when I was in my teens, I wasn't like, you don't get to understand these circumstances or these situations. I
Yeah.
mean, it's interesting how we were talking about before, like these two kind of class systems which we have in Australia, where
Mm-hmm.
there's, one law for someone who's born here and another one for someone like me. I
Hmm.
mean, you're talking about that before. I mean, tell us your views. People want to know.
Yeah, I think uh, a lot of people really underestimate how much I'm not too sure how to phrase this, but um, how much like perceived social standing actually um, influences the law and where we find ourselves in the legal system. Um, Obviously, we all have our different experiences and we all come from different walks of life, but there is definitely a very clear distinction between um, Australians who are born here and Australians who have migrated here, like yourself. And that is something that's completely unfair, just, to say the very least about it. Um, and I think that there is no point. Like, why? We're all humans. We all deserve the exact same human rights, no matter where we come from in the world. you know?
Absolutely. And I must say, I'm so proud of you because I mean, this is what I've been trying to say for the last 5 years of my arbitrary detention broadly and to this day as well, that the color of your skin or where we're born shouldn't define how much human rights we get.
Yeah.
I mean, we have human rights because we're humans. And I'm
Mhm.
going to quote my Queen's Counsel and my personal hero, Julian Burnside, QC, who once said that we have human rights not because we are white, pretty, rich, Christian, or pleasant. We have
Mhm.
human rights because we're human. And until we understand that in this country, we're not going to understand human rights.
Yeah.
And over here, we've got this politicians who make legislations in the parliament, and which all of these border forces and the police and the other law enforcement agency have to implement. And those politicians, quite a few of them actually, um, run their political campaigns on the basis of hatred, and turning one human against another.
Yeah.
Like you speak about Pauline Hanson, how she ran all her campaign throughout her career on fear mongering.
Mm.
That, oh, these migrants are here to kill you or they're going to take your jobs. And um, like we be on there's a threat of being invaded by Asians or there's a threat of being invaded by Muslims and God knows what else. And
Mm.
the media, like especially, I may say a certain section of the media gives these people a lot of coverage and poisons the minds of our innocent Australians
Mm.
who actually buy that because not every single Australian is going to do their research and actually find out the fact. They get a newspaper thrown at them, either they read it at a pub or wherever they get a chance, and they read this hate mongering, and they're like, "Oh, my job is in danger, or my safety is in danger. God knows what else. I must vote for this fascist, far right, white supremacist politician because it's going to keep me safe."
Mm.
And that's where the legislation, the hateful legislation, um, start to be made in the parliament.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe you read a bit of history about what happened in the Nazi Germany.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, in the Nazi Germany, the Nazi army used to obviously went to the Jews' house, picked up the Jews, threw them in the concentration camp, calling them criminals, a threat to their country and whatnot.
Hmm.
And I've been saying that since 2016. That's what is exactly happening in Australia at the moment. I
Hmm.
mean, when they placed me in detention on 5th of October 2016, I had just returned home from work and they just knocked on my door, get out, mate. Oh, we have to place you in detention. No
Yeah.
reason, just place me in detention. 5 years later, I've won my case in full federal court. In federal court, Australian Human Rights Commission declared my detention to be arbitrary. One of the Administrative Appeals Tribunal who declared me a person of good character. This is public knowledge.
Yeah.
And 3 months into my freedom, where I've been working towards human rights and setting up this sport network and the project we've been working on, um, again, last Monday, just boom, into detention.
Hmm.
So, what do you believe as a young Australian? What is it required to make a change to um, undo this politics of hatred,
Hmm.
to demolish this racist structure of immigration detention regime,
Hmm.
which profits on cruelty?
Yeah. Well, as you were saying before, with media reports creating, fear within the public, obviously that has a massive impact on who we elect to be in Parliament, and then what legislation is passed, which can be harmful for some people. Um, I think we need to let go, and by we, I mean Australians in general, obviously there are people who are more inclined to be self-serving, but as Australians in general, and especially part of the youth of Australia, I think we really need to work on working towards the greater good rather than our like individualistic goals. I think it's great to, look after yourself and look into the future for yourself, but I don't think people should do that at the expense of others, and especially when it can result in, in some cases, if we're taking it to the extreme, death with different policies, not allowing people into Australia when they absolutely need it. It's all because of fear and because people, want to preserve themselves, which is, it's part of human nature, but I think it's become toxic, especially in our political environment. Yeah, I do think people need to understand that power is like within us, and to make a change, we actually have to educate ourselves, go out of our way, and what we're doing, working on this project, is giving people that extra push, telling them, not just trying to educate them, but telling them they need to educate themselves. And once people realize they have that power within themselves, that's when they feel it, and that's when they can actually make a change.
100%. I mean, couldn't have said that better. And must say again, I'm so proud of you. And like, this is the thing. Everything you said, like, in this day and age, ignorance as to what's been done under your name in Australia is not a defense.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a phone. They can do some basic research as to what's being done, the cruelty being committed. And indeed, people have to educate themselves because it's mandatory voting in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to vote for the right person, but also if you're not explicitly condemning cruelty, you're condoning it.
Mm-hmm.
And as I always say, there's a saying in my country that if you see injustice being committed in front of you, mm-hmm. and if you have the ability in your body, so to say, in your arm, to mm-hmm. stop that injustice with force, use force to stop injustice. If you're scared or you don't have the ability to stop injustice with force, use your voice to speak up against injustice.
Yeah.
If you're even scared to speak up against injustice through your voice, then
mm-hmm.
at the very least in your heart, accept that injustice has been committed.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like a basic moral obligations for every human being.
Yeah.
Because as a society, we are one race, we're a human race. And I mean, people think what happened to me can't happen to someone else. It can. As the old saying was that, first they came for the unionists and I didn't say anything because I wasn't a unionist. And then they came for, I don't know what they said, like then they came for the Jews. Mm-hmm. And I didn't say anything because I wasn't a Jew. And then they came for me. And then there was no one left to say anything. Mm. So we got to stand up for each other's human rights. We got to take a stand. And we got to encourage other people to take a stand. I mean, since I got out of detention, I just felt like I can't be chasing money because money can't make me happy. We need to establish a project, which we're working on, that educating people, establishing a support network that this detention regime can be abolished. And most importantly, education is the fundamental driver of change.
Yeah.
Unless people are educated, they're not going to act to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, let me show you my solitary confinement, by the way, for the viewers as well. Okay, so just going to switch the camera. Right, so this is my 24 hours lockdown. That's my bed. That's the table. A little cupboard. And that's the door. And that's where I got to survive 24 hours a day. And the only human interactions I have is through this little window where the officers, the guards, would open that window and throw in food for me. And it's pretty interesting. They were telling me they have to check every 2 hours if I'm eating or not. I was like, look, I'm not eating. I'm not eating because I'm on a hunger strike or protesting. I'm just not eating because I don't feel like eating.
Yeah.
So this is that intercom, which I think you would have seen, where they were blasting loud music in the middle of the night to keep me awake. This is the toilet, which is right next to it. No privacy door, any of that. And there's no clean drinking water. If I have to drink water, I need to drink it through that toilet thing. And this is the bed, which I have to sleep on. As you can see, it's very unhygienic.
Yeah.
But that's the situation. Oh, hang on. An officer wants to see me.
It's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah. Officer is at the door. 1 sec.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Anyway. Just have to release my car keys to my friend. That's it. Yeah, I'll write it for you. I'll write it down for you. Oh, can you give me the request form or? Okay. Right, the challenges. I was talking about how my car is still parked outside where the border force brought me into detention. And the car has been there for a week, and that car was brought to me by my very dear friend, who has been so lovely to me and so supportive. And there's so many procedures in detention, like just to do the very basics. So I have to, they won't give the car keys back to my friend. And they have to ask me to sign a number of forms out, which I don't have access to. Just bear with me. When? What is RPA? So they'll come to me, or they'll come to me because they asked my friend to fill up a form. So can I just fill up a request form anyway? Yeah, because my car is sitting there for a week, man. My car is sitting on the street for a week, so my friend needs to move it. All right, thanks, mate. So what you've just experienced is the how things work in a detention regime. A simple task as just releasing my car keys to my friend so she can collect the car keys from Villawood Detention Center and move the car is so difficult. And people ask, why do they have this? Why do they make a simple task so difficult? And I said, look, you cannot make sense or find any logic in anything which this detention regime does. If you try to find logic, you just go insane.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so this is a place where I was tortured for 5 years in immigration detention, and finally got to get freedom back here now, unlawfully again. So, yeah, what do you think about knowing these circumstances? What do you like? I mean, obviously making a change, and hopefully once I get out and soon, we get to work on a project. What message do you have for our viewers?
That's a big question. Of course, there are 1,000 things I could say. But I think just keep fighting for justice. Keep educating yourself. You know, sometimes it is boring to read long news articles, but you have to do it. Like, there's no other way. You just have to do it. You might not, I mean, I'm not going through what you're going through right now. The viewers might not understand that. I can only sympathize. I've never been through something like that before. But at the same time, that doesn't stop me from trying to understand how awful it is. And I think that people need to take that into consideration, that even though they haven't been through it, you know, maybe someone who they love has been through something similar or will go through something similar, and they need to fight for change so that doesn't happen. Yeah.
It's very well said, and couldn't have said that any better. And I just say to our viewers that in a couple of years' time, or maybe soon, you'll find Ella in the front lines of social change in our country. I can see it, and I'm predicting that right now. And if anybody wants to get an autograph, get it now, because you're not going to get a chance later. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it. Like, I mean, you got to stay true to your principles and to your values. And as I said yesterday, even if I die, life is short. You never know when you're going to pass away. So knowing here, I was just thinking about, like, look, even if I die, at least I have the comfort of knowing that when I saw injustice, I took action against it. I spoke up against it. I did something against it. I stood up against it. I helped someone when it was needed, stood up for the underdog without fear or favor. But most importantly, I never collaborated with those who inflict injustice.
Mm-hmm.
Because a person worse than the one who's inflicting injustice is the one who collaborate with them, mm-hmm. or who make that injustice possible by either staying silent or making deals with them or working for them.
Mm-hmm.
And until we understand that in our country, we cannot abolish tyranny or this hateful system.
Yeah.
On that note, we should say goodbye to our viewers, and hopefully next time when we do a video cast, we might be together on the outside, sitting somewhere in the free side of the world. And yeah, I mean, I want to personally thank me and Elle. Both want to thank all our supporters and people who've been sending, free Norris tweets, and all the supporters who reached out to us, offering their help and support. And a lot of people I haven't actually been able to get back to. Just didn't have the energy, but I love all of you. And Elle, you've been so supportive, you've been so kind, and you've been so understanding. I can't thank you enough.
That's the least I could do.
All right. Thank you, guys.